Hey, this is Rob Belay of 1980 Sports Cards, and today we're probably going to do the only video that's going to be not 1980 sports cards. So I just wanted to talk about some of the other cards I collect and go through them really quick. So to get started, I mean, everybody knows I focus on the 80s. I focus on the 80s because that's what I collected 40 plus years ago when I was a kid. I started collecting about 1984, so I was right there in that sweet spot, 1984 to 1987. And honestly, I got lucky as I kind of lost interest in high school about the time the junk wax really took off. Not saying the mid 80s didn't have some junk wax, but I avoided the really bad stuff in the late 80s and the early 90s. When I went to college, I did get into hockey for a while, and that was the junk wax. I bought a ton of hockey cards, and my favorite team was Dallas Stars. I must have 200 Mike McDonough rookies, and they're not worth anything. So I did get some of that junk wax through the hockey, and then later on, after I got out of college and started working, I was doing Magic the Gathering tournaments. So I did build up a pretty good collection of Magic cards, and I still have most of those, but I got a lot of those graded, and I'm selling them off now. And surprisingly, they have really good values. They have a lot more value than a lot of, definitely the hockey cards and even a lot of the 80s cards I originally collected. So besides the 80s sports cards that I'm collecting now, my other big interest is post-war vintage blue chips. So vintage, post-war, rookies, blue chip cards, like only the top 50 to 100 cards, and then just trying to get the best PSA grade I can in that particular card. So I have a list, and it's probably more than 50. There's probably 50 to 100. But my idea this time around is to go quality over quantity. So I don't want to build up a big mass of cards. I'm not building sets. I don't want a lot of second tier cards, second year card, 30-year cards. So I'm just buying rookies and just the best one I can in that particular card. So, and those were the cards I dreamed about when I was collecting the 80s, but couldn't afford them. About the nearest thing I came to, I grew up in Kansas, and I was a big Kansas City Royals fan. So I actually bought this with my own money back then. I don't know how much I paid for it, but it was quite a bit, making minimum wage $3 an hour, working at the drugstore, mowing lawns. So this is probably the most I ever invested in a card back then, was the George Brett rookie. And this is the actual card I collected back then. I got it graded, and you know, it's a beautiful card, but I probably, looking at it now, it's off-centered, and I probably handled it a lot. So no surprise it got the 5.5. But that's one of my original cards. And this might be a surprise, but that's actually one of my original cards. And no way in heck I ever could afford that card. But in Salina, Kansas, where I grew up, a new card shop opened in the 80s, and they had a raffle for this card. And out of everybody that entered, I won it. So I've owned this card now for 40 years. And I've handled it a little bit, but I just got it graded, so now it's at least protected. So this is the nearest thing I had to a vintage card, and I couldn't afford anything else, but that's what I dreamed about. So now a lot of my collection, besides the 80s cards, is stuff that I couldn't afford in the 80s, the older stuff. But yeah, just going through my current collection now. Before we get to the good vintage stuff, I want to show some of the neater current cards I have. So I bought a few Aaron Rodgers cards, and I found this one. You know, most of his rookies are 2005. So I think this could be kind of considered a minor league or a pre-rookie card from 2003. And I'm not trying to hoard the market or anything like it. So, but I think this is a completely undervalued card. They're really hard to find, and there's only a population of 22 in the PSA 10. But this came 2 years before most of what's considered the Aaron Rodgers rookies. Another one I got into more from an investment perspective the end of last year, kind of good timing when these cards bottomed out. I know they've been crashing for about 3 to 4 years, but they kind of bottomed out the end of last year when I got into it. Future Hall of Famer Mike Trout, and coming off injuries, I was just really optimistic about this card from an investment perspective. This is the Diamond Anniversary in a PSA 10. I also have a Walmart Blue Border in a PSA 10, which is valued more, but it's in my PSA vault because I'm thinking about selling it. But I also have, I think I had up to 10 or 15 of the regular updates in a PSA 10, but I've been selling them off. The more I've been learning about cards, I was too heavily weighted in just Mike Trout. So I'm going to keep this card forever. It's my favorite one, the Diamond Anniversary, but I'll sell the Blue Border and most of the other Trout rookies I have. I'm still optimistic about Mike Trout. I just don't look at it as much of an investment as I did 6 months ago. All right, the next one would be Formula One. I have a few Formula One cards. Out of all the sports, I'm probably the biggest fan of Formula One. Max Verstappen is probably one of my favorite current drivers. Even though I'm a big Ferrari fan, I'm just a fan of Max Verstappen. And I don't think, I'm not a big fan of modern cards. I rip it for fun with the family, but I don't have much expectations. And I think it's a money-losing proposition in the end. But I do like Max Verstappen, so have this PSA 10 of his, what's considered his rookie card. Now, there's a big argument what the GOATs are for Formula One, and I have both of them. My personal opinion on the GOAT of Formula One is Michael Schumacher, who brought us several world championships at Ferrari. And this is considered his rookie card in 1992. And I have a bunch of these, and I have a bunch of sets, PSA 10s. It's only $300-$400 card. I think it should be a 4-digit card based on the populations and how big he is. But it's just, Formula One doesn't have a lot of fanfare. Now, what people consider their favorite GOAT of F1 to be Ayrton Senna. And this is his rookie card, 1984 Panini in a PSA 6. These went up to crazy values about 3-4 years ago. They had the pandemic bubble, and on top of that, they had like the Netflix Drive to Survive bubble. And these cards just went crazy. And I've got this PSA 6. They've dropped in value quite a bit, and I think these are undervalued, but they could slip a little bit more before I think they turn and go back up in value. So those are my big Formula One cards. Now we can get into the fun vintage stuff, what I consider the blue chips. These aren't all of them, but these are what I consider the highlights, and I'm just going to run through them really quick. Of course, we have Nolan Ryan, greatest pitchers of all time, in a PSA 7. You'll notice I prefer the PSA slabs and getting about the highest grade I can for my budget. Johnny Bench, this one's actually a 8.5 and an older PSA slab. Someday I will get this reslabbed. And FYI, I don't have it here, but I do have the Pete Rose rookie, and it was in an older slab, so I'm getting that reslab now, and that's why it's not here. But here we go, a Johnny Bench in an 8.5. All right, now we're getting the good stuff. A lot of the 50s cards. Have an Ernie Banks rookie in a 4.5. 54, great year. Another 54 card, the Al Kaline rookie in a 4. Now 55 tops, the Sandy Koufax, and this one's actually in a PSA 6 and a new slab. All right, now let's jump back to the right after the post-war. I have a few of those cards. We have the Yogi Berra in a 5.5. You know, maybe not top 50, top 100 baseball players, but as far as names go and legend, you know, I wanted this to be part of my collection. Now here's a big card, a little more value and popular. 55 tops, Roberto Clemente, one of the greatest players, top 10 of all time, and a PSA 5. Now this almost makes the 80s sports cards, and you've seen it already in a couple of my videos, but we have the Wayne Gretzky and a Peachy PSA 6, And this is the Blue Line Era card that's a little rarer maybe, but definitely Wayne Gretzky. Have to hit the GOATs in every sport, so that's why I've got the Wayne Gretzky. Now talking about GOATs, let's go basketball. My star Jordan, and this is not the star, I think 101 is the big card out of the stars. This is the 288 card, but I love it. You know, it's nice playable shot, the Rookie of the Year, and a Beckett 7.5. And that's my star card. And of course, you have to have the 86 Jordan. And I've got this in a PSA 8. Maybe someday I can upgrade to a 9, watching the prices. I don't think taking the risk on a 6-digit PSA 10 when there's thousands of them out there. But I do love this 8. And finally, but not least, kind of my current heavy hitter card, we have the Willie Mays rookie in a PSA 4, 51 Bowman, one of my favorite sets. And yeah, so this is kind of my top dog right now, top card. And I'm working on a lot of other 51 Bowmans. I don't have Mickey Mantle yet on my want list, and some of the pricier cards, a lot pricier than these I currently have in my collection. I'd like the 51 Bowman Mantle, I'd like the 52 Topps Mantle, and I would also like to pick up a Jackie Robinson rookie. So those are some of the big names that are still on my want list. But there you go. Those are the highlights of my personal collection beyond just the 80s cards. I hope you enjoyed it. I do.